and welcome to the latest episode of Off the Fence, brought to you in association, of course, with BOYLESPORTS, coming your way on all the At The Races digital platforms. And you know the drill by now because we're well into season 4. Yes, season 4, episode 16, I think we're on. And of course, we have been building up to, well, we've been covering the National Hunt season, but now we are in full build-up mode to the Cheltenham Festival, of course, only a couple of weeks away. And as a result, in the next 30 minutes or so, we have a lot of festival focus, actually. We're going to rattle through some of the performances we've seen from the last 7 days. We'll have a brief look ahead, but the main part of the show will be taken up by looking at the Stayers Hurdle and also a few other mentions for horses that will be running at Cheltenham in the handicaps. Also a little brief glance over the Grand National too. So loads coming your way with myself, Barry Geraghty and Tony Keenan. Oh, don't forget price boosts as well and the competition winner. God, it's jam-packed. Let's check in with the boys to start with. Barry, how's your... We can call it festival build-up season now, can't we? I feel like we're into that zone.
We are. Well, I haven't had a preview yet, but Thursday night is my first one. So a couple this week and a couple next week. So it'll hot up soon enough.
It will indeed, and you have to be careful with the content you take in at this time of year because there's, festival preview shows left, right and centre, but the ones Barry is on, keeping it high calibre. Tony, you've already been involved actually with the festival preview, haven't you? You've sort of sold your soul quite early this year.
Yeah, they seem to start them very early in the north of Ireland, alright. So yeah, I was on one up in Tyrone there last Friday. Yeah, good crack and a good kind of attentive crowd. Yeah, enjoyed it.
Like that attentive crowd is key. We're going to come back to that actually a little bit later in the show. Tony will give us a few snippets from that preview night, but let's start by kicking off our What Happened Where section. As I said, relatively light week from the last 7 days or so, but a bit of focus at the weekend on some nice enough horses, specifically Barry Geraghty at Kempton, where of course we saw this Khalif de Burle win the Adonis, a couple of other nice performances as well on the card, but Khalif de Burle seems to have caught lots of people's attention, lots of hype about him beforehand. He's delivering on the track. We're not going to see him at Cheltenham, but he's a serious prospect for the future on what we've seen of him so far anyway.
Yeah, lots of hype. It was a good performance. I suppose that the form of the race looks strong. Give Me 5, the runner-up, was a winner of 2. It only 2 stars prior to that. The third horse, Captain Marvellous, was a winner and was second on his 2 starts. So obviously the Khalif de Burle, a winner of his previous 2 as well. So he has been impressive, but I thought Harry Cobden was brilliant on him. He got a little bit outpaced early in the straight. He didn't rush to get involved. He let the 2 at it up front and he came with a nice well-timed challenge. So I think I think Paul Nicholls has a lot to be grateful for the ride that Harry gave him, because he could very easily, for me, could have got beaten. Looks a nice horse. He's got a big reputation. He was well talked up beforehand. He was well talked up after. He's possibly going to go to Aintree if he's going to go anywhere. Paul felt he had a tough enough race, but for me, if he was going to be a superstar, it wasn't necessarily a superstar performance. So if he's going to be all he's meant to be, we'll need to see a bit better, I think, than we saw on Saturday.
Oh, okay, not quite sort of living up to the hype quite yet. Anything else to mention on the card, Barry? We saw Lump Sum win the Dovecote and of course might go to the festival, but it will be for a handicap.
Yeah, it was good performance by Lump Sum. I'd say the sharper track helped him settle. Fiercely Proud ran a good race. Lump Sum pulled away from him in the straight, just had the edge on pace. He's good in the county hurdle and he's in the Martin Pipe. For me, he'd be better off over 2 mile, dropped in off a fast pace, and he's definitely one that you could see running well in the county. He was 130 on Saturday. He's probably going to get £5 or £6 for this, which he probably would need to get into the county hurdle.
Okay. We will see. Obviously, we've got the Cheltenham Festival weights coming out actually on Tuesday, so they'll be out before this show. So yeah, it'll be intriguing to see some of the allotted weights, of course, and who's going to get in where. Tony, what about over in Ireland? Again, you know, at this time of year, we're sort of scraping around a little bit, but there was a decent card at Naas, and of course the headline act was the reappearance of Fernie Hollow, no less. I mean, I don't know how much of his ability still remains, but he has, you know, he's a remarkable record considering they clearly can't keep him sound.
Yeah, tends to win when he turns up. He's that type of horse. They changed tactics on him on Sunday where they decided to drop in. I think Willie Mullins said afterwards they saw that there was going to be quite a bit of pace on. A few of these do tend to go forward, and it was a well-run race with Ash 3 Meadow up there and Rebel Gold kind of pressing him. Visually, it was a very nice performance. He travelled well. His jumping was pretty good for a horse having his third start over fences, I think it is. Bear form wouldn't be anything to get excited about. Rebel Gold is, an exposed but graded class 11-year-old at this stage under a penalty, and at the weights Fernie Hollow would only have come out kind of the equal to him, but it was certainly a good stepping stone. I'd say it's a massive price to go to Cheltenham. I think Willie Mullins saying you'd have to give him a bit of time after that. You'd only be inviting the bounce. We had to run him back so quick, but Fairyhouse maybe, or probably more likely Punchestown might be the job for him. There were a couple of other quite good performances on the card. Gavin Cromwell had the winner of the first Fishery Lane juvenile hurdle. They've moved that race from Fairyhouse to Naas. Not a strong race particularly, but this horse was having his hurdles debut, having been with Kieran Murphy on the flat. Hurdled pretty well, bar one kind of slow jump at the first. Looks like already like a stayer to me. He was a slow ground horse on the flat and kind of was niggled along briefly, I think, before the turn in. I think already he looks like a horse that'd be a 2.5 mile plus prospect maybe in time, and maybe one that wants a bit of soft ground. But to me, the standard performance on the card far and away was the winner of the bumper, this William Money. Barry Connell's horses haven't been in particularly good form this season, especially relative to last season, but this was a really, really impressive performance. He'd beaten a well-backed horse of Willie Mullins's in the double green at Navan. Prior to that, the two of them had pulled a fair weight clear in a steadily run race, and kind of a similar story here. He just travelled so well through the race, and was only really asked for effort inside the last 100 yards, quick and clear. I think he 5 lengths winning margin, value for way more than that. Like the second Fleur in the Park, Andy Slattery's horse, very, very solid horse. Second to the Enabler before that, probably a little bit better than the form. And Barry Connell, last season we saw him talking up a lot of his horses. They all kind of delivered, and he was really talking this lad up afterwards. He was saying, not be going to Cheltenham obviously, but Punchestown champion bumper was on the cards, and yeah, well within his rights to run there. I think he's definitely one to be interested in, and would look well up to an integrated bumper, I would have thought.
Yeah, Barry's definitely not being shy at coming forward when he really likes one, and there was, lots of talk about this horse, so he will be intriguing to follow going forward, not only for the rest of this season, but of course next season as well. Tony, let's stick with you, because those are some horses that shone. One horse that definitely isn't shining at the moment is Gala Marceau, who seems to, considering she won 2 Grade 1s last season, she's really fallen on quite a tricky season this time around. And obviously we saw her defeated in the week. What next for her? Or, does the ability remain? How come she's gone missing in action quite so dramatically?
Hard to say. Doncaster run was full of promise. I know Lossiemouth won on the same day coming off the long break, but her horse can be different. Maybe she needed to run a bit more. It was a perfectly decent effort. But just the Punchestown run was just totally underwhelming. There didn't seem to be any excuses within the race. She didn't kind of really make any mistakes, or a little bit keen, which she can be like that anyway. But just a little bit slow, maybe a 2 out, and she was kind of soon beaten. The winner, Hispanic Moon, was quite impressive, I thought, albeit ridden out to the line. She had beaten the same horse, Sail Via, back at Punchestown, I think in November, but beat her much further here and on worse terms. She kind of ran poorly at Christmas, but I saw the owners tweeting there that she had ulcers after that, so maybe that's worth forgiving. She wouldn't be the worst outsider, it's in the Mayor's Hurdle, where to come up with a little bit of cut in the ground, which I'm sure it will. But yeah, Gala Marceau, you'd wonder would they even be inclined to go to Cheltenham off this run. And again, I don't think anything has come to light since.
Yeah, we want her back, and she's Definitely. Well, on last time evidence, she's not firing at the moment. Tony, I shall stick with you as well and stick with a bit of Irish action, because we saw a small field renewal of the Bobby Joe Chase. Iron Maximus winning in pretty extraordinary fashion. I mean, he is quite the remarkable horse, and beating Vanillier in the process at Fairyhouse. Both of them obviously in the National. Vanillier hasn't lost weight at 10 stone 8, and Iron Maximus will be 11 stone 2. Would you like either of them for a National? And what, like, in terms of Iron Maximus's profile for a National, does he really fit?
I don't know, but geez, he's some horse. Oh, he's some horse in fairness to him. Like you would have looked at him at Leopardstown last Christmas, and he ran behind Gentleman's Game, and you said, a tramp of a performance, to be honest. You say, he never win a race. And he's gone now since he ran placed in the Broadway. Then he's won an Irish National. He come back and won a Drinmore, and he's gone and won this Bobby Joe on Saturday. Having run in the 2 Leopardstown Grade 1s in between. Cracker of a horse. In fairness, now it's he's keeping a bit for himself, which is probably why he can keep turning up in all these races. But very, very convincing here. Does everything wrong, of course. Like jumps left, jumps slow, but as soon as he turns in here on Saturday, the race is over. Despite Vanillier getting £10 or £12 from him, and then he decides he's going to jump the last badly as well. So more ideas about the game than I don't know what, but very, very talented horse. Aintree, I'd say he's probably all or nothing for Aintree. Like, he's the kind of lad now. He could be tailed off after 5 fences or just win it. Like he's one of those. He'll either take to it or he won't. But go down now in serious form. I think Vanillier was a little bit disappointing to me now. Kind of travelled well into it when didn't just couldn't go with your man between the final 2, which was disappointing. He was having his 4th start of the season. He should have been pretty sharp for it and getting big chunks of weight. Now maybe he's just a spring horse that needs a bit of nice ground, and did run well in the race last year. But you'd have to be full of praise for the winner. Like just like the portfolio of stuff he's put together now in the last 12 months is actually as good as any staying chaser, I'd say, bar Gallop and the Champs.
Yeah, Barry, he's got extraordinary action and an extraordinary way of jumping his fences as well. Iron Maximus, he's definitely not cut from the traditional or kind of what you would expect mould for a staying chaser.
No, he's not. For me, I might just have a dependency on soft ground. All of those wins and various have come on soft ground. So as you refer to his action, that's generally a sign of that. His jumping, probably a little bit unpredictable, and whether that's what you want for Grand National, I'm not so sure. Even with the modifications nowadays, I still think you need to jump a little bit better than him. So he's probably skinny enough for me as he stands. As regard Vanillier, it's hard enough to weigh him up, because he was second in this race last year to Kemboy, and the third horse of Stuart Crawford's was about a stone wrong at the ratings and was only about 2 lengths behind them. So he was underwhelming in the race last year, and then he goes and he's second in the Grand National. So it's hard to set your clock by Vanillier. So I wouldn't the jury would be out on him for me. But Iron Maximus, very impressive in what he's done around Fairies especially, but whether he can do that in Aintree, I'm not so sure.
Okay, well, Barry, whilst we're talking about Aintree and mentioning the National and, of course, the weights, it was the weights lunch a week ago, wasn't it? I think it was last Monday. You were there, I believe. Obviously, a fancy enough sort of do. The weights are the weights these days, really. The handicapper seems to play a pretty straight bat with their ratings. But were there any major takeaways from anyone you spoke to? Anything to report for our off-the-fence viewers and listeners out there?
Yeah, no, it was interesting. I suppose the fact he didn't drop any of the horses at the top. I think he did Corrick Rambler a favour there. He's on 11.2. Now he's up £13, I think it was, from last year. But he's actually not carrying as much as if he had dropped the top horse by a couple of pound. Obviously then with the number of runners being reduced, Meeting of the Waters was a horse who would be of interest, but he needs about 8 to come out to get in. But he's only up £7 for his win at Christmas, so he'd definitely be of interest. Galvin is dropped down to 155 from 168. He's definitely one you'd have to have an eye on as well. So was interesting, and a horse I liked from early in the season, Malheur Mission, second in the Old Hennessy. He's been kept fresh and he's left on that mark, so he's another one of interest. So plenty there with obviously you'll be drawn to, but it'll be interesting to see what actually gets to make the cut with the reduced number to 34.
Yeah, the reduced numbers, those places are going to be hard fought for. Tony, let's also, whilst we're sort of on handicap discussions, obviously I've mentioned already that the Cheltenham handicap weights are coming out tomorrow. But just looking at the handicap markets thus far, I don't know how much of a sort of deep dive you've done into them. And we will be having, by the way, our main festival preview show next week. So that, of course, will be coming your way and we'll be able to flesh out these thoughts a little bit more. But Tony, at this stage, is there anything that's jumping out the pages at you in any of the handicaps, hurdles or chasers?
Yeah, there was one horse that jumped off the page. You know, his price is starting to move there in the last couple of days. Waterford Whispers in the Martin Pipe started out Easter last year at Fairyhouse, ran a decent race, first time out over hurdles there, maiden hurdle there, I think he was 6th or 7th, then he went to Galway, kind of an October meeting, very steadily run race, but still won, beating Attaboy Charlie, who went on to win a good handicap hurdle at Leopardstown at Christmas and was going well when falling in the 2 out, I think, in the big handicap at the DRF. But to me, his standout performance is Fairyhouse there at the Hatton's Grace meeting. The first and only time really to date he's got into a properly run race. And he won that kind of a novices rated hurdle. Now, the bare margin of victory really doesn't reveal his superiority because he kind of got shuffled back and into trouble on the turn in and had to be switched wide. Just the way he picked up was really, really impressive. He'd value for twice, 3, 4 times the winning margin, I would have said. And the horse that he beat in second, a really solid horse now in Answer to Cave. He's gone on, made the frame in a graded race at Limerick at Christmas and then won again at Naas. Since he's had one run since that, Leopardstown at Christmas, what would be kind of typically a strong novices handicap hurdle. I'd say just really steadily run race, didn't suit. He was only narrowly beaten in the end by a well-ridden Pat Fahy winner Michael O'Sullivan was on him, Champion Admiral. And the third from that has come out and give the form a right boost to Maya Yates, star of Gordon Elliott's. He ran very well up and trip at the Dublin Racing Festival again. So I just think all his form has worked out. I think he's totally unexposed. He's a type of horse that does tend to suit this Martin Pipe, you know, kind of a novice that I'd say he might be a graded novice kind of time. He mightn't be far off that with JP McManus' team. They would be kind of aiming them at handicap. He's built up a bit of handicap experience. I think if you have a well handicapped novice, this is probably one of the races that you're aiming at. It does seem to be a thing that over the years novices like him do very well in it. He's going to need a little bit of help to get up in the handicap, but I think he'll probably get that hopefully tomorrow. Owners tend to have access to the best of the young jockeys as well, which is another kind of asset. So yeah, I think he's one that has to have a big chance there getting a bit of normal luck in the Martin Pipe.
Okay, Waterford Whispers in the Martin Pipe for Tony at this early enough stage. Barry, what about you for Cheltenham Festival handicaps? Anything to give a shout out to?
Yeah, one that I got to mention at the entry weight launch was Apple Away, Lucinda Russell. So she's won the last 2 Ultimas with Cara Grambler, and she's adamant Apple Away can make it a hat-trick. Now has to improve a little bit on what she's done to date over fences. She's been 14 lengths behind Grey Downing twice and was 2 3/4 lengths behind Henry's Friend in the Reynoldston last day, so needs to improve on that. But Lucinda is adamant that there's a potential for improvement there, so one to take note of, maybe at a nice price. It's also she's down £4.2 from a mark 141 to 137, so make it all the more appealing.
God, that is fascinating, because I feel like Lucinda isn't the sort of person to be adamant or over bullish about a horse unless she really means it. So that is well worth taking on board. Thank you for that, Barry. Whilst we're taking things on board from various events at the moment, Tony, you mentioned obviously that you've already been on a Cheltenham Festival preview panel. Was there any takeaway points from that night that you would like to share? Any information gleaned?
Yeah, 1 or 2 bits and bobs. Look, I was on it, so no one cares what I think. You've all heard what I think at this stage, and David Jennings and Johnny Deneen were on it as well, and everybody knows what they think. They have an even more popular show than us, and I'd recommend everyone listen to the lads. Are great crack. But we'll go to the lads that maybe people don't hear about too often. David Casey is obviously kind of a key person. Look, very, very strong on Lossiemouth. I know this is kind of obvious, but the two things that sort of stood out to me: no worries on their stamina, and kind of for homework seems to be very, very good. So that's a positive. Another really interesting thing, I was mentioning to him that I like reading Tommy wrong, but I was kind of concerned that maybe you guys in the stable don't rate him, but he was kind of quick to disabuse me of that notion. He's very keen on him, and he said he actually had backed him in Naas the day he won, and would again, target not totally decided yet, but he left the impression that maybe the Albert Bartlett would be the race for him, and he'd really be suited by that. And just in regard of their novice chasers, kind of look with Willie Mullins, it's you know, targets may well change, but seem to think maybe Blood Destiny might go to Naas or to Navan this weekend, maybe rather than the Arkle, and Hunter Jean may go to Cheltenham, and the possibility that Facile Vega would go up and trip. And again, I think that's fairly reflecting the market at this stage. Gavin Cromwell, you know, obviously some JP McManus horses, the targets and all that were yet to be decided, but one horse he did mention that he is aiming at a race now for a little while is Encanto Bruno. He's aiming at the Martin Pipe. Cornerstone Walsh will take the ride. He is obviously a good win over the course there in October, very visually impressive win there, and his two runs in Ireland since have come on soft ground that wouldn't really suit him, so he wouldn't be a great surprise if he would have bounced back to form. And Robert Power was very keen on Envoy Allen. I was actually taken back with his kind of bullishness on him in what was probably an ordinary enough run of the rain there.
Wow, that is interesting. Okay, a few little takeaway points. Thank you very much for that, Tony. Barry, let's move on and take a look at one of the championship races. We're going to be looking at the Stayers Hurdle today. This is a wide open contest basically at this stage. We've been here before with the Stayers. We know how this goes. It's, you know, some people love this race, some people hate it. I'm a lover of it. Barry, I'm going to start with you. And obviously we will just be adding some more meat to the bones of these thoughts in next week's show. And then of course we do our 4 daily Cheltenham Festival shows as well. So you're going to have loads of content coming your way, and you know, views may change given ground, etc, etc. But we're going to do an anti-post look at the Stayers Hurdle now, and we do have a price boost in here as well, courtesy of BOYLESPORTS. But Barry, the prices read like this. So Teahupoo is now available with BOYLESPORTS, courtesy of that price boost, at 100 to 30. So that is for a limited time only for BOYLESPORTS customers. He is your market leader, and he's been boosted out to 100 to 30. Next best in the market, we have Irish Point at 3 to 1. Crambo in there, 11 to 2. Noble Yates, I mean, remarkable horse, 8 to 1. Sir Gerhard's 8 to 1, all that talent. Monkfish, 10 to 1. Flooring Porter, 12s. And Paisley Park is 14s. It's bigger prices thereafter. I mean, when you rattle off that list of names, Barry, we could sit here and surely make a case for every single one of those horses.
Well, I'm not going to. Teahupoo, I really like.
A relief. But
yeah, no, I really like Teahupoo. Very good in the Hatton's Grace the last 2 seasons. He was only beaten 3/4 of a length in last year's Stayers Hurdle as a 6-year-old. And to me, that's a big fact. He's coming back as a 7-year-old. He's a proper stayer now. And even watching him in the Hatton's Grace this season, he obviously in Perry Pass ran Keenan and he outstayed him, but it was a proper staying performance. He needed every yard of it, so I think he's going to love the 3 mile this year, where last year he got in a little bit of trouble with Dashel Thrasher late in the straight. Didn't help his case. I don't think it was the beating of him, but I think he's going to be more. He'll have the resilience he'd need to win a Stayers. He's proven his class, and for me, against the opposition, he sets the highest standard with those Hatton's Grace wins, beating Classical Dream and Honeysuckle, and then beating Imperial Pass this season. Of the opposition, Irish Point, he won the race in Lepson at the Dublin Racing Festival, a slowly run race. He had the pace. I think it exaggerated his superiority. He is a 6-year-old, so he is, but for me, where Teahupoo was last year, maybe he's capable of winning the Stayers Hurdle, but I'd have my money on Teahupoo to beat him. Likewise then Crambo, who won the Long Walk Hurdle, beating Paisley Park ahead, wasn't a strongly run race, and it was a good performance by the winner, but he was beaten off 139 by Slate Lane and Haydock on his previous start, albeit came from a little bit off the pace. But he's rated £18 higher now. If you had £18 in hand, you'd want to be winning regardless of how far off the pace you are in Haydock. So he is a progressive type, but I'm not just sure if is of that standard just yet. Noble Yates beat Paisley Park a short head, getting £6 off him on trails at Cheltenham. So he'd have a chance, but I don't think he's a standout either. For me, Teahupoo, that Hatton's Race form and having the extra year on last year, for me, he's the one they all have to beat.
Okay, and in very positive shout then, I think it's fair to say, for Teahupoo from Barry. And as I said, price boosted to 130 courtesy of BOYLESPORTS, Tony. Do you have as strong a view in this race as Barry? Do you have that level of confidence for the Stayers Hurdle, Tony?
Yeah, well, you know the answer already, or not at all. No, I've just look. This will be a no bet race or a very token bet race at the price at the minute. That may change in the day, and we'll see. Teahupoo, he's a little bit of a weather bet for me. He's gonna need soft to heavy. Like I don't even know that English soft is bad enough for him. You know that it was kind of English soft last year, and I think he preferred it. He wants kind of Goran soft or Goran heavy really, or Clonmel or somewhere like that. So I just don't know. Nearly ground you guys wouldn't be racing on. The other thing, I kind of think Davy Russell was riding him on one arm last year, and that's fair enough. Maybe on another day he could have won, but he could have won it maybe a length, maybe 2 lengths. He's not that far clear of kind of an aging Sire de Berlia and Dashel Drasha, and if there is an improver in it, he's a little bit vulnerable to it. Now, I would take the point that the fresh angle could be, you know, a little bit of a game changer. If he needs to be fresh, that could be a thing that where you get kind of improvement. And maybe he is better last year, but it hadn't Grace form, like Imperial Pass has kind of disappointed twice since, so a little bit of a worry. Irish Point, reading an interesting bit by a fella called Matt Toombs there, talking about these unexposed horses coming into the Stayers Hurdle tend to be a bit underrated and tend to run very well. I have had 2 strongish bets against him on his 2 runs this year, this season, and he's made me look an absolute fool. I'm really impressed with him actually, because he beat Magical Zoe, who was race fit, who should have been more suited to be 2 miles, who was given chunks to weight and down Ryle. Now, she's not a grade 1 mare, but she every day she turns up and runs a race as long as it's over 2 miles. She's very, very consistent at that trip. That was a really good performance. And at Christmas, the way the market went, he was so strong in the market. Like I thought he was a very suspect stayer at the trip, but he was so strong in the market, it suggested there were no doubts from some people that he would stay at the trip. Now, I know it turned out a really slowly run race, but what did he pull? 11 lengths clear of them in the end. Like the trip would still be a little bit of a worry, but he just might have the ability. So Irish Point would be one I'd be kind of looking at. Crambo, Barry makes a fair point there, but he's not a horse that I kind of know an awful lot about to be straight with you, and I will have to have a look at him. So Gerhard's trip would still be kind of a worry with him. These older horses, maybe the Noble Yates and the Paisley Park, no, Noble Yates is not that old, but he's done plenty of running over staying trips. They probably need a certain type of race where something has to go really hard to bring them into it. Sire de Berlia probably the same. Dashel Drasher, you just wonder now in the last furlong, does he really see it out? Home with Lee is a horse I was quite keen on at Christmas. And you know, I think he just spat it out completely. Now maybe that's what he's just going to do now at the moment. He's just decided he's had enough. But if they got him kind of sweetened up a bit and back on better ground, and he didn't have to lead it, I thought he hated making the run. And I think he'd made it at Navan and he just said, the hell with this at Christmas, I don't fancy this. He wouldn't be the worst outsider because he has shown ability to be in the mix with these type of horses. So look, the 2 I'd be kind of looking at the moment, weather dependent, would be Irish Point and Home Lee, but it wouldn't be a strong bet. I think it's a very, very difficult race at the moment.
Okay, so I love a difference of opinion. Barry, red hot on Teahupoo, the price boosted Teahupoo. Tony, relatively lukewarm on him, but keen, as he said, on Irish Point and Home by the Lee. So, yes, can't wait for it to unfold now. As I said, we will be looking at these races on the day, well, sort of 48 hours before, and of course, covering a few of them in our Cheltenham Festival preview coming your way next week. Whilst I'm on the subject of price boost, BOYLESPORTS has been very generous this week. So your price boosts look like this. So you've got Teahupoo boosted to 100 to 30 from 11 to 4 for the stairs hurdle. You've also got Banbridge boosted to 3 to 1 from 5 to 2 for that weaker looking Ryanair. That's an intriguing one. And Marine Nationale has been boosted by BOYLESPORTS to 11 to 4 from 9 to 4. So BOYLESPORTS has been very generous, our sponsors of this show, but of course normal rules apply. Read the T's and C's, do it responsibly, and also it will be for a limited time only. So if you want to get involved, do it sooner rather than later. Those are your price boosts. And whilst I'm on the topic of doing a bit of admin, last week we had another free bet giveaway, £20 or €20 free bet. And the competition winner is Neil Day 5229, who put up a bet of Brave Man's Game each way in the Gold Cup. So Neil, you are the winner, and At The Races digital team will be in contact with you. Congratulations. Right. Guys, we're nearly at the end of the show. Just tracker time and a brief look ahead to come. Let's do the look ahead now. Of course, at this time of year, we are really building up to Cheltenham, so we've got a couple of weaker weekends of racing. But we do have the Moor Battle Hurdle Barry up at Kelso. Good prize money on offer up there. And we have a 2-day meeting at Newbury as well. So we're sure to see some nice horses. Is there anyone in line for the Moor Battle Hurdle Cheltenham Festival bonus that's obviously on offer? And we've seen the Shunter win in recent times.
Yeah, Under Control is the likely favourite for the Moor Battle. Run After a Wind Up had disappointed in Newbury in its previous start. It was a good second Ashroad Diamond last time. Beat a Berwick Lord in Sandown at the end of last season as well. So that would have the strongest form of the opposition. Black Hawk Eye is coming up in grade from Class 3 and Class 4 hurdles. So I think Under Control, if it can reproduce the level of form that showed in Doncaster, I think should be hard to beat. The novice hurdling up there is a nice race as well. Django Bay runs in that. He has a grade 1 penalty, having won at Aintree at Christmas when Fire and Glory fell. But a horse who interests me here is Personal Ambition, who should be getting a few pound off the favourite here. He disappointed in Sandown in his previous start, but was impressive again at Doncaster last time. So I think Personal Ambition might be worth keeping an eye on.
Okay. And whilst we're on the topic of the Moor Battle, Barry, was that a race you particularly loved, had some happy memories of?
I liked it one year when I won it in Simon Sig, and I didn't like it another year. I got beaten on Zanar at 1 to 15, beaten by a horse called QE2. So some mixed memories with the Moor Battle.
1 to 15. Wow. Well done, Barry. That takes some doing.
It was never on the bridle, so I'd say he was 10 to 1 in running maybe. So it was it was tough work, but then just never got there.
Wow, he's just on an off day. That's why we love the game, guys. Right, to wrap up, let's do tracker time. Tony, who is your tracker horse from the week just gone, please?
Well, I have a sub story too here on tracker time. Oh God! I hope this horse has more luck than the one I put up there recently. I don't know if you mentioned this one, called Cannon of Noel Meads. This was the horse that got disqualified at Punchestown last Wednesday for the jockey weighing in late because he went to the toilet. Oh look, I don't know. I think that's one I'll have to put down. I think he won 10 lengths and he was 1.3 pounds overweight. So anyway, on the weight, sorry, we'll have that. Not to worry. We'll try again this week. Rushmount, trained by Jonathan Sweeney down in Cork there. He won a Taurus last Thursday. Couple of point-to-point runs there last spring, but an excellent debut on the track behind Lecky Watson and Shannon Royale back in November. The two of those are rated 143 and 132 respectively, both of which had more experience than him at the time. He kind of 4 months off then, and he kind of improved, I think, on that initial form to dismiss two that had reasonable placed maiden hurdle form and were coming into it kind of race fit. The trainer kind of said afterwards he had a setback kind of between the two runs. He wasn't intending to run with Leopardstown at Christmas, but just looks like an unexposed young horse on the up, winning races over fences and over hurdles. I'd say probably the race he might go for is there's a valuable novice handicap hurdle over 3 miles of Fairyhouse over East Street. Trainer won it last year with Western Walk. I think he's kind of in a similar mould. He might lack the experience for that, but I definitely think he's going to keep inside.
Okay. track horse has been going well for Tony, except the odd sod story. So in the tracker he goes. Barry, your tracker horse, please, from the week just gone.
Yeah, a horse called Revenue. He was 15 lengths fifth to Tuvasator at Naas on Sunday. Travelled nicely, jumped really well. He's a point-to-point winner. That was his third start over hurdles. I think he's going to be a lot better when he goes up and trip and probably a handicap, and he does enjoy soft ground. So I think when he gets the right conditions, he might oblige.
Okay, might oblige. I like that. Right, boys, thank you very much as always. Viewers and any listeners out there, don't forget those price boosts. So you've got Marine Nationale in the Arkle, Banbridge in the Ryanair, and Teahupoo in the Stayers. Barry's strong selection in that, all price boosted for a limited time only. Read the T's and C's, please, and join us again next week where we will be doing our full Cheltenham Festival preview show coming your way next Monday, and then thereafter we've got daily shows for the big week itself, so loads of off the fence content coming your way. But for now, have a good week everyone. That was Off the Fence.